Welcome back to another episode of the Girl Boss Method podcast, hosted by myself, Ritu Bra. Now, for today's episode, we are joined by a lovely guest. Her name is Meena. Meena and I have worked together through one of our challenges, actually. So every now and then I run challenges for the Girl Boss Method just to help encourage women with their fitness, their nutrition, and create that community, really, that community aspect, just to try and get fitness feeling a little bit more fun and just get the ladies sort of introduced to the program. But Meena and I actually connected via Pilates. She was in one of my classes, and I feel like she's got such an amazing story to tell, and she's had an amazing journey, really, really interesting stuff. And so I thought, well, what better way than to introduce her to the rest of you guys so you can hear a little bit more about her and learn from what she's got to offer as well. So, Meena, thanks so much for joining us today. How's your day been so far?
Yeah, it's been really good. Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's been good. It's Friday. It's the end of the week, so it's it's been quite a nice week actually. The weather's not been great, but we'll get there.
We are in England and it's February, but it's getting warmer. So Meena, firstly, I wanted to ask you a little bit about fitness itself, because you really enjoy fitness. And I know that some people out there might not enjoy fitness and they might use fitness for a certain goal. It might be, I guess, people generally kind of look at a fitness journey as being like an aesthetic thing, and they might relate it to things like, weight loss or trying to transform for a holiday, etc., which is all well and good. But I'm a firm believer that fitness and nutrition and taking care of your health should be a part of your life, full stop. Should be your life goal and your life journey. So I just want to ask you, firstly, tell me a little bit more about your fitness journey, why you like exercise, and how you got introduced to it, and how it all became a part of your lifestyle.
Okay, so I was one of those people that hated fitness. I was when I was younger, I had quite bad asthma. I still do, and lots of allergies, eczema. I had the full blown. I was like last in PE, and I, as far back as I can remember, even primary school, it was like you're kind of like the special child who, okay,
Oh,
got to get your inhaler, got to do this, got to do that. So it's not something that's come easy to me. It's not something that's naturally come to me. But one thing about fitness is, I think probably from the age of about 15, I would say, it has been a constant in my life for one reason or the other. So the, I mean, I studied to be an optician, and it was quite a hard journey. It's a difficult degree. The line of work can also be quite difficult, and a lot of the challenges I've faced through there, my one constant has always been I need to burn that sort of energy off, that stress off, and the burning that stress off might have been going for a walk. I think I really got into sort of the gym when I was about 18. I joined a gym, and I found I wanted to I was working towards like weight loss goals, and I wanted to sort of transform myself. And I remember I got the personal training in the gym, and which was great. It was a great guy. We did our sessions in the gym. We kind of went around the machines, but there was very little or absolutely no nutritional aspect. So I could train my butt off in the gym. I could do hours and hours. I've had so much energy, but if I wasn't eating right, they're just not working together. So the knowledge in terms of nutrition was quite poor. And then I remember when I was doing, I think my final exams for my qualification, I a friend had said, "Oh, do Lighter Life, do Lighter Life."
what's that?
So, Lighter Life is another one of those Herbalife, so these programs, and it
Yeah.
was having 3 soups or shakes a day and 1 bar. And I think the calorie the total calorie for the day was something like 690 for the whole day. But of course,
Wow.
I did it. I was drinking, I think, 3 liters of water, as I was told. There was a every 2 week kind of check in, more of a like a, is everyone staying on board? Is everyone,
Is
how's it
everyone
going?
alive still on 600 calories?
Like, yeah, so, have you like peed yourself to death because you're drinking so much water? And I remember my hair was falling out. Like, I looked at it and I was like, wow, my hair's really falling out. But I had lost 3 stone in 3 months, which was phenomenal. I'd gone down about 3 dress sizes, which all felt great at the time. Like I was
Did it
doing
really feel good,
my
energy wise, especially?
well,
Yeah.
I did feel like I had a lot of energy. I didn't really struggle with anything apart from my hair falling out, which is getting a bit worrying. And also I had exams. It was very stressful. Um, but yeah, again, one of the worst things I probably could have done, because as you go back to eating normally, the weight starts coming back. And so again, there's so much of that out there, and probably more a decade ago, whereas now there's a lot more education. There's a lot more information out there available readily. And yeah, back then there really wasn't. So there are some mistakes that have been made, and I think from that I probably developed thyroid. So I've got an underactive thyroid,
Yeah.
because my metabolism just fell. Whereas it was quite fast in that sort of 3 months where I lost loads of weight. But yeah, as I started eating normally and going back to training, I'm demanding so much more from my body, but I'm not really fueling it. So the nutrition aspect was always quite a big thing. And then as I got older, I had started, I think, realizing that actually this is not a diet. I don't want to do a diet.
No.
I
And
want,
also not very sustainable as
yeah,
well.
these things are definitely not sustainable. I do not recommend them to anyone. And it is about making a lifestyle change. So it is something that has to be part of your life, your daily life. You eat a certain way, just being a bit more mindful. And I remember uh, really learned how to count calories and learned what things meant. I really focused hard on nutrition. And that's where I probably had my biggest success. And I lost 15 kgs. And that was
Amazing.
fully and that was in the pandemic. So I had a lot more time in the pandemic because, like most people, I was also furloughed for two
Yeah.
months. And those 2 months, just coincidentally, I had joined a program and really went all in, gave it everything, worked out 6 days a week. But the biggest thing was the nutrition. I can
Yeah.
work out as long as I want. And I remember there was a time in the pandemic because I began to really enjoy it. There were so many like free things around, and I remember I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let me start. I think I started with like, a Joe Wicks online YouTube thing for
Yeah.
free. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not so bad. All right,
Yeah.
let's get back into that. And then a few more things, a few more things. But the focus was really on nutrition. That
Yeah.
was the kind of golden nugget. And that's where I think I had my most success.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you've probably heard, and people listening to this, like the 80-20 rule, if you like. Um, the fitness aspect, especially when we're thinking about body composition, like, I don't know, we're looking for a weight loss goal, let's say, most of it is going to come from your nutrition. And sometimes I feel like it's almost as much as 90%. Like the exercises, the
Yeah,
thing is, you cannot out train a bad
bad
diet, if
diet.
that makes sense. And
100%.
yeah, and also with that, you can make body changes or like weight loss changes with nutrition alone, but with exercise alone, you cannot.
Yeah,
And you know this more than anyone because by getting to know you as well, I know how much you enjoy exercise, and you've said it yourself even just now that no matter how much you train and how much energy you're expending, nothing really changes until you have a look at your nutrition. So yeah, no, very, very important. And I wanted to talk a little bit more about like mindset, really, mindset and just sort of overall well-being, your sense of self just by adding exercise or incorporating it into your life.
So it was actually 2017 at work. I was undergoing an acquisition. So I was doing a job as an optometrist, but working in head office. I was a very senior role, and we were having an acquisition. And from this acquisition, it wasn't clear where I was going to be going, what my role was going to be, and it was very, very stressful. And also, as one of the business leaders, I had to almost pretend I'm okay and that, okay, yeah, what we're doing, guys, for you guys is going to be great. So for everyone else, really, it wasn't going to be loads of change because they still remain in their stores. And in fact, most things would have got better for them. Equipment was going to get better, the benefits were going to get slightly better. So for most people, it was actually a really good deal. But for myself, it wasn't because my current my head office where I was about an hour away from home, and the new head office was like nearly 3 hours away from home.
Wow.
I was looking at potentially a relocation, which I couldn't do because of family commitments. I was a carer for my elderly father and mum. And also like my life is here in London. So, I don't really want to move up north 3 hours away. So we came to an arrangement where I was going to be traveling and staying there and working from home or going to stores. So, it kind of all worked out in the end, but the stress of that journey, this whole acquisition was phenomenal. And I not sure quite how, but probably through stress, because stress is just, I think, a killer for so many things. I developed a blood clot in my leg, and it was yeah. So I got a DVT in my leg, which I was at the time also training in the gym, so I was going quite hard in the gym, and I had actually started. One of my friends had offered to help me with weightlifting because I was like, I just want to get a bit better. And he was like, yeah, most PTs in a gym are not really going to push you. So that he educated me so much. And I was like, wow, actually, you're right. Because, there's all the liabilities in a gym. They're not going to make you do your heaviest things. And actually, if I think back to my very first PT in the gym, he was just taking me around the machines. I was like, that's not true, kind of PT. I can do that myself. I don't need to pay someone to take me around machines. And I was like, wow, it just really makes sense. So I was getting quite strong in this kind of my program. So my and he kept saying, no, I know you can lift more, you can lift more, and I could. I think I am naturally quite strong. My dad was very, very strong, and my cardio and sort of that ability may not be as good. It definitely doesn't match the strength I have. But what I noticed was so I was going, quite often to the gym to work off all the stress. So that again, with all the stress in my life from the acquisition, and I guess my caring journey for my dad, I had to burn off stress. Otherwise, it just didn't work. So gym was constant, and I was getting weaker in my sort of cardio abilities. I also used to swim a lot. So 2013, I swam a mile in the river for charity.
Oh, amazing.
So I was a very strong swimmer, and I would kind of do my weight session upstairs and go down and do my swim, and it was like the norm for me. Sunday, 40 lengths, job done. I couldn't do 5 lengths. My breathing was getting worse. And I was like, wow, something's really not right. And my leg had a lot of pain, so I went to the doctor, and they were like, well, no, I think, maybe you just pulled a muscle. And I was like, well, maybe I have, because I was in the gym, and
You just don't think, do you, about
and I definitely didn't display the classic symptoms of a blood clot. So I remember then I had a friend's wedding I went to, and I was like, wow, I really can't step on my foot. I'd worn very small heels, but I was like, oh, my leg really hurts. And off I went again, pushed the doctor, went to hospital, had it scanned. And they had done the scan just kind of the calf, like knee down, really, and said, no, I can't see anything, but put me on blood thinners just in case. and said, off you go on your way. And off I went. So I was on the blood thinners a few days, went back, no, then about 2 weeks went by. And now I was feeling my cardio, my breathing was getting worse. Even walking like 5 minutes on the treadmill, I was like, I feel really out of
Wow.
breath. This is not right. Something's weird. Even doing
Yeah.
the weights, I was getting out of breath. And I was like, hang on, I can do this. Like, what's
Yeah.
going
What's
on?
going on? Yeah.
Off I went to the doctor
Scary.
again, and I was like, something's not right. How
Mm.
do you know I haven't got a blood clot? And they were like, well, the scans are clear. And I was like, yeah, but what if it's moved? What if it's traveled? Like, I just don't feel right. I'm not the kind of person that complains. I never go to the doctors unless I literally really, really need to.
Mm.
So I had to keep advocating for myself. I had to keep pushing and pushing. And then I remember I was at work, and my colleagues had said to me, they were like, you look weird, like your color's a bit weird. And I was like, yeah, I feel not great. Even just going up, we used to have two little small flights of stairs, like about 8 steps each. And I remember I had to kind of stop halfway in
Yeah.
one of them. And it was one of my older colleagues, and she was like, what's wrong with you? You shouldn't be stopping.
Yeah.
You're young. I was like, yeah, I know. I was like, but I don't feel good. Like I'm feeling quite out of breath. And she was
Mm.
like, oh, I think you should go back to the doctor. I think you should go now. And I was like, yeah, maybe you're right. And then I said to my boss, I had a meeting with him, and I was like, look, I just don't feel good. My breathing's quite off. I don't know what's going on. I think I'm going to go back to the doctor. And he was like, yeah, sure, off you go. So I drove off, phoned the doctor on the way, and I was like, yeah, not feeling great. Something's wrong. I want you to check me over. And this time it was a locum doctor. So
Yeah.
she had said, yeah, let's get you checked over. And also in between, the second visit I did to the doctor, and I was like, look, I'm undergoing a lot of stress. Like, I've had enough of everything. I want to book a holiday. Am I safe to travel? And they were like, yeah, sure. So I had booked Dubai as well.
Wow.
It was that stressful. I was like, I need to get out of here because everything
Yeah.
was just too much. So Dubai is on the way. Off I go to the doctor. My heart rate was very high. It was about 130 resting.
Whoa.
So you understand a heart rate.
Yes, I do. Insane.
Resting. My oxygen level was about, I think it was under 90. It was about 88, 89. And she was like, whoa, that's not good.
Yeah.
I'm going to phone the consultant in the hospital. Let's get you in straight away. So
Mm.
they had agreed, got me in. So of course it takes a while to get all the scanning and I managed to bypass A&E because I went straight for a kind of department where they check emergency things. And then I was found to have, so there were no clots showing in my legs, but I had now clots in my lungs, both lungs, all over. So I had multiple pulmonary embolism. And
Whoa.
they were quite shocked that how are you standing? Because the presentation is just, it doesn't match what you have. It's very dangerous. And I was like, wow, okay. And I was like, okay, so what does that mean? What are we doing? And they were like, well, you're not going anywhere. You're going to be admitted here, and we're going to be doing treatment and monitoring. And I was like, all right, cool. Can I go home and get my clothes? And they were like, no.
No way.
I was like, I drove myself here, like, okay, I'm not
Yeah.
feeling fine, but I'm okay enough to function. I was talking normally, and I was like, I did recall like I was getting a bit of brain fog, which now made sense because I had clots all over my lungs and all the oxygen is being blocked, going upwards, going downwards. And I was like, right, okay. And they wouldn't let me walk anywhere. I was in a wheelchair. And because the danger was I had two clots very close to my pulmonary artery near my heart. So I could have been gone at any point.
Oh,
And I was just like, wow,
insane.
I was, 2 days ago in a gym lifting weights. I could have gone there and then. I don't understand.
Scary stuff. But I guess like the main thing is like your colleague, she's pushed you to
Yeah,
go,
yeah,
but also to anyone listening, if there anything doesn't feel right with your
100%.
health, go and see a professional.
you know your body more than anyone.
Mm.
And okay, there's a level of, some people are just hypochondriacs and like, oh this and oh
I
that.
don't think you were in this
I
case. Definitely
definitely
not.
wasn't. And you know, I don't think, I genuinely believe like when people think there's something wrong or there's a niggle or
Yeah.
something, you know, don't ignore it. Like you
It's an
really,
instinct.
yeah, I think your gut instinct is the strongest instinct. And I really had to fight, which, you know, I felt very let down, like being a health professional myself. And
Yeah.
while I'm not a hypochondriac, I wouldn't moan. And, you know, I really pushed and pushed. And I thought, if there was someone else in my place, they may not have made it. And I've actually had friends of friends who have passed away from pulmonary embolism, which, you know, it
Insane.
made me so sad that it was a guy about a year younger than me actually, and it can happen from anything. I think mine happened. Well, I then wanted to research, why did I get this? Why me? You know, I
Yeah.
don't understand it. There can be reasons where if you've been on the pill in your life, that can cause it. Never had that. And if there's any family history, there's some genetic diseases out there, don't have any of that. So I researched to death
So
why.
what was it?
So I then, the other problem is there's not a lot of information out there. And doctors don't, they only know like the basic things. Or the other problem is a lot of things get blamed on being overweight. And I was like, look, yes, okay, I'm medically overweight, but I'm not the kind of person that sits at home on their butt, you know, watching TV, eating burgers. I'm quite an active person.
Yeah.
I'm probably in numbers overweight, but then a lot of my dad's side of family, they're all very heavy and very strong. Just like bodybuilders all have insanely high BMIs.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, they would never fit a medical BMI because they're just so full of muscle mass. Um, so I said, yeah, I don't understand it. So then I had a I joined a Facebook group.
Yeah.
Um, I joined this group and there was a lot of information in there. So people were like, I've had this clot or I had this. But what I found, there was a lot of, there's probably more people that are so negative in there, which also then I guess I realized that my mindset is quite different.
Yeah.
I'm not like, oh my God, I had a blood clot, I nearly died. Well, I am to some extent, but my biggest motivation, I was in hospital for 5 days, not knowing my future or if I'm coming out alive. Um, and it was a really scary time for me, my family, my parents, husband, everyone. But the one driver for me, I think my mindset was so strong in, I have to come out of here. I'm not
Yeah. Yeah.
staying here. And
Yeah.
my parents are elderly. My dad, you know, he had a dementia for 8 years. He was bedbound for the last two. We had carers coming in. I'm an only child, so you know they. My biggest motivation was, what the hell are they going to do without me? You know, I have to get out of here. I look after them. What the hell am I doing here? This
Oh,
is insane. So it was, and I was so hell bent on coming out of hospital. I was all kind of tubed up with lines, drips, all sorts. And I was like, I'm not wearing your hospital clothes. My mind was on such a bender that I was so not accepting that this is happening to me. I I wore like my own clothes. I was wearing like a jumpsuit, like casual stuff. But I
yeah.
was like, I'm not wearing your crappy hospital gown. Sorry, not happening. And they were like, oh, but we need access. I was like, you've got access. You've got everything you need. I'm not having it. And then they were like, okay, we'll help you to shower. We'll
Yeah.
like, no, I'm gonna do it myself. And like, they were like, okay, well, the buzzer's there, like we don't want you to fall or anything. And I was like, that's fine. And I thought, if I'm able to do something, I'm going to do it. And I think that whole, if you look well, like you feel better. So I had made a routine in the hospital. I would kind of get up,
Yeah.
didn't like waiting around for you know, people to come and help me get dressed and do this. I would slowly kind of do it, and then eat the hospital porridge, prison food would come along, and then I'd have that, and then I'd be like, okay, now I'm gonna put on a little bit of mascara, like, you know, I don't want to look, you know, I don't want to look dead. I might be dying, but I need to look okay because I'm coming out of here.
Yeah, definitely.
That
Exactly.
that motivation, I don't know, where it came from. I guess my why was much bigger than anything. I thought that I
You
have to
had a responsibility, right? You wanted to
responsibility.
make sure that
Yeah,
you were there for the people that needed you, the
yeah.
people that loved you. And yeah, I mean, your parents, like you say, being an only child, you just,
I'm a firm
yeah,
believer in God. Like I kept that with me, and I was like, no, I have to get out. I have to get out. And
yeah.
my best friend came to visit me, and she was like, "You don't look sick. What's going on?" She was like, "Why aren't you wearing their clothes?" And I was like, "I'm not wearing them. They're
I'm
rubbish.
done.
Thing.
Oh,
They're ugly, not happening." So I think, yeah, when you're kind of feeling, you know, you're not in a good place, and it's always really important to think of that why. Why are you doing this? There is always going to be something, and if it's not anyone else, it's you. You have to do it for you, and I think
yes.
that's probably now the next part of my journey is,
Yeah.
for so that I think that having the blood clot, I then continued to work in like a slow kind of phase return, started my new job through the acquisition. It was fine. We made it work. My bosses were great, staff were great, and I actually got better. I really kind of pulled through. But one thing that never kind of repaired itself were my lungs. So my lungs are still impaired even to this day. Like I get out of breath going up a flight of stairs. And there's a lot of other things still wrong, but just fighting through to, want to get better. And then my fitness journey again stayed quite close to me.
Yeah.
So I continued with that. But yeah, then unfortunately, I had a second blood clot
Wow.
in my right leg. So the other one was the other leg. So I had found out through the consultant, who was very good, that I actually had a blood clotting disorder. So I'm prone to blood clots. So she said this is something that you've kind of developed as you've got older.
Mm.
So I had to be on blood thinners for life. Then I went through quite a bit of a battle of which blood thinner. Like there's tablets I was on, which were great, just take them twice a day, no issues. Then I was moved to a different one, which involved hospital blood tests every week, which drove me mad and mentally, I think, really pulled me down. I
Yeah.
had days that I couldn't get out of bed, literally, one from the fatigue, two, I didn't want to. There was probably even a point that I didn't want to live. It was that bad. And
Wow.
to then I kind of from the second blood clot I had to give up my work because I couldn't continue my job. And I then went on to so I needed basically a stent put in my leg. Well, it's more kind of in my hip and pelvis. That will relieve the problem this clot had caused. It's narrowed one of the biggest veins in my body. But with the consultants, we've been working on continuing with exercise, and we've chosen to go with like kind of naturally healing. And the body's amazing. The human body is quite amazing. It's I've developed collateral vessels, so where the big vessels kind of narrowed, new vessels have formed. So
Amazing.
through all the exercise and things I'm doing, so I think
Yeah.
um, now it's different. I then found kind of group exercise really worked for me because doing it myself, I didn't want to. As much as I loved it, I hated it because this was the thing that I used to love. It was the one constant in my life, my stress relief that kept me going in all the kind of situations I'd been through and had to be so resilient through. This was now the thing I couldn't do.
Yeah.
And doing a bit of exercise, I was out of breath, or my leg would get swollen up. So it wasn't. It's more of a vascular thing. It's the morphology of the vessel that has kind of broken down. It's like when I'm even walking, simple
Mhm.
walking, I'm demanding too much from the leg, and it's like a traffic jam with the vessels. So the blood's really struggling to get through. So it's getting swollen, more and more swollen. Can't put my shoe on. So it was an absolute nightmare. So it's taken me about 2 years to kind of work through that. I'm still
You've
working
done
through it.
amazing so far.
Yeah, so it
Because
is.
looking at you, Mina, nobody would know this, right? And
Yeah,
you told me, we talked a little bit about it before, but no, you've told me now, actually, this has been ongoing for many, many years. And it's
yeah,
something you've really had to fight for,
yeah.
mentally and emotionally, actually. And you've been resilient. But I can't imagine how hard it's been for you.
Yeah, it's still not easy. There are very bad days. There's good days. I think the group kind of exercise has worked. I've made friends through my fitness, and a lot of them are younger than me, and
Amazing.
I think
Yeah.
that's kept me going because
Yeah.
what I think is really nice now in the fitness space, there's a lot more there. And I think
Yes.
there's so much more where there's no judgment and everyone is there for the same cause. You're all working on your own individual goals. And there's having a coach, I think, is really important. In my whenever I've done sort of a fitness journey, I think three things are really important, and that is a coach, community, and consistency.
Amazing. I love it. The three C's.
The three C's. Like some people say, oh, how'd you be so motivated? I'm like, I'm not motivated.
Yeah.
The one thing I have to keep is consistency. So I may not work out, as much as I intend to, but um, if I've left it for 1 day, 2 days, on the third day, my body's already craving that, come on, get up, work out. Even if my
Okay.
mind is like, no, I don't want to. I'm like, no, I have to. I want to because I want to get this better. And the community aspects, I think, coaching programs are really, really worth it. And I know sometimes, it's not for everyone, but I think it's really important having a coach that understands you. And I think I have been in some coaching programs where I've had like a male coach, and I sometimes, no disrespect to anyone, but they do not understand the female body. They do not
Yeah.
understand the pressures on women. They do not understand what it's like being, in a married life, being a daughter-in-law, a sister, a wife, everything. And that's all on the woman. And
Yeah.
some coaches are great, they have the best results, but they're probably only good at coaching single guys who have the time, who don't have all these responsibilities, and you can get your results. So I think it's so important to have a coach that will understand you, understands your where you're coming from.
Yeah. No, definitely. No, honestly, I love hearing that, actually. I think it is, you're so right. It's so important. Your journey has been just listening, taking a sit back and listening has been really, really inspiring. And I hope that other people feel inspired as well. But let's say, because obviously you're quite a like what you've gone through is very rare and very unique. But I know that there are people out there that will have different health setbacks and they may have diagnoses like that scare them, um, and might almost be like a roadblock in terms of them thinking about exercising or nutrition, and they think that it's only one way, like they think that the only route for them is medical intervention only. So I think the fact that you've been able to incorporate and still keep consistent with exercise alongside any medical interventions or anything that you've been advised by your consultants, and looking after your nutrition and stuff, and just even having that whole approach with your lifestyle as well. Like, is there anything that you can offer to someone that's maybe not gone through what you have, but they're going through something themselves that makes them feel like, I cannot step forward and I cannot do this, because they feel like that roadblock is too difficult to overcome, and and maybe even thinking about exercise feels impossible. So what's your advice for them?
So I would say in every can't, there is a can. If you look at the word can't, you can do it. So you may not be able to do it. Like even if you want to go for a walk, you may not be able to go for a half an hour walk, but you might be able to go for a 1 minute walk. If you can't do the 1 minute, do 30 seconds. It's still something. So start slow. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. Don't judge yourself because there is so much more you know, sometimes your mind is the roadblock where it keeps telling you, you can't do this, you can't do this. And I think our own our self-talk, our how we speak to ourselves is really important. So sometimes we're like, oh, you know, I can't do this because of this, and I'm just this, and I'm just that. No, why don't you talk to yourself as if you can do it? And you know, you may have physical ailments. So you might have a problem with your leg, but your upper body's still working. Start with that. So there is definitely, and I think the way I've changed my language is not, oh, you know, I've got to do this workout. It's I get to do this workout.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that, yes, my body may be broken, but I'm so grateful that some of it's still working and I get to do this, because there's people that are paralyzed in beds that can't do anything. So I think there is a real a mindset piece that, and it takes a lot of work. It's not something that just comes to you or just comes overnight. I think gratitude is really, really important. And I use the 5 minute journal, which I used to think, oh, you know, what's all this malarkey? But actually, when I properly read it and started using it, I'm like, oh, yeah, actually, this
Yeah.
does work. It does work.
Yeah.
Lots of tools, and, you know, all of it's important, but, you know, really shift that mindset that you get to work out, you get to make choices, and, you know, choose what you're eating. So if you're at a family function or a gathering and there's lots of things you don't want to eat, you know, lots of sweet stuff or whatever it is, you get to make that choice. Why would you want to ruin your progress? There's been times I've taken my own food. You know, if I'm working towards a goal, I used to do a charity challenge every year. So when I swam the Thames, I did lots of different things. If I'm working on something, no one's going to get in my way.
I
Like,
love that. That's brilliant. Yeah. No, really, really lovely, inspiring advice as well, especially. And I think the main thing here really that I've taken away is it's the mind, it's the mindset. It's the mindset, it's the gratitude, it's the can-do attitude. Because I think we live in a world where can'ts are used quite often, and it's
and it may
just
not
really
be from
nice to.
you, it may actually be from other people.
Yeah, that's true.
It's others. Like, it might
Yeah.
be anyone, your siblings, an auntie, a parent. Oh, you can't do that. You can't do this. And it's like, for me, I actually love that. I'm like, I can't do this. Great, let me show
Watch
you.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I've done it
exactly.
every time in my life. It's for whatever reason that if anyone says to me, you can't do this, I remember I moved job once and my bosses were really annoyed that I was moving. They're like, oh, you're never going to survive there. And I was like, okay. And I was like, well, if I don't, I know that you'll have me back. But in my mind, I was like, I'll show you. I
Yeah.
made it to the top of my career. And I
Mm.
was sitting at a board. I was a director on a board of directors, rubbing shoulders with people that ran their companies. And I thought, you know, it was all that. I almost love it when someone says you can't do this, because
I
I
think
wrong.
the can'ts are not, when it's from other people and they're like negative attitudes as well to what you do. It's usually a reflection of themselves and how they feel about themselves. So always, like, you know, like you say, just remember that actually they're just projecting how they feel about themselves on you, because they're seeing you do something for yourself and it makes them feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
bettering yourself, even in a fitness journey, especially. Some people can't handle the fact that you're working on you. It's something they probably want to do. They don't want to live their crappy life how they are, but they see you kind of, you know, doing things, doing all these steps, and they sometimes tend to get, I feel like, get in your way. It's happened to me. People are
Yeah.
like, oh, you can't do this, you can't lift weights, you can't do this. And I'm
I've
like,
had that.
oh,
I've had those similar. It's so interesting, isn't it? I
yeah,
think, yeah, I think so. Meena, it's been really lovely to have you on board today. Thank you so much. If anyone's just stumbled across this podcast and you've enjoyed what we've been talking about, feel free to reach out to me at Ritu Bra on Instagram, and we'll see you here next time on the Girl Boss Method.